Call of Duty games can sometimes contradict themselves. The franchise dictates that each new game has a specific feel. Things like quick kill times and consistent approaches to movement and weapons, and campaigns that mix a large sense of scale with an individual intensity of battle. Call of Duty Vanguard maintains all of these things, but it also strains under the formula. It climbs to some excellent heights, but stumbles often along the way as well.
What the bloody hell is he doing? Heads up!
Vanguard returns to World War II, but takes a fictionalized, exaggerated approach to the conflict. It puts you in the shoes of 4 veteran heroes as they come together to form the first modern Special Forces team. The story can be a bit cartoonish at times. It feels like Call of Duty's take on something like The Expendables, but it's also fitting for a game where you single-handedly kill hundreds of enemies in each mission. These folks are the best of the best, and the story takes you through flashbacks for each one, establishing why they're the best, and then letting them work together to hijack a Nazi train and smash a Nazi base. Creating memorable characters and leaning into storytelling is an area the franchise has often struggled with, and much of what makes the campaign fun is how Vanguard goes on building your team. It's all character, all the time. That helps keep the story from getting disjointed as it leaps around both the timeline of the war and the globe, dropping you in major battles so you can see how each character got to where you find them. But it's in those moments of character development that the Vanguard half of the game struggles against the traditional Call of Duty half. The campaign is built on introducing each of your team's characters with their own missions, sending you to various World War II theaters in an attempt to deliver a variety of experiences in a variety of locations. It's hit and miss, though. Vanguard wants to make each of the characters feel like a specialist by giving them different abilities, but not all the ideas attached to them work especially well. The standout of the campaign is Paulina, a Russian sniper and hero of the Battle of Stalingrad. Paulina is more agile than the other characters, allowing her to quickly sneak under tables and through tight spaces or climb walls to get to sniper perches. When she's not sniping, her missions are largely about stealth, as she sneaks through bombed-out buildings to slip behind enemy soldiers and knife them in the neck, before disappearing among the debris. They're exciting and fraught moments, but her character-specific ability, flashing a knife to coax a sniper into wasting a shot so she can spot them,
Throwing fire!
is only useful in very specific instances. It really just allows you to kill specific enemies when they show up, and so feels less like a skill and more like a button you push at the designated time.
Get down!
Other missions and characters are less interesting and less distinct. Lucas, an explosives expert fighting German tank battalions in North Africa, pretty much fights the same way as British team leader and paratrooper Arthur, or American pilot Wade Jackson. Lucas's special ability is carrying lots of different kinds of grenades, and when it's his time to shine, he mostly just throws grenades. Similarly, Arthur can order other teammates to focus fire on certain targets, sometimes suppressing them, but there's no real strategy involved. Most of the time, you only have 1 or 2 options, so when a target shows up, you tell your team to shoot at it until you can flank it and kill it. If they stop shooting, you just repeat the process. Wade's chunk of the game is the weakest, with a digression to an airborne mission over the Pacific that mixes confusing objectives with loose controls and boring dogfights. When he's not in a plane, Wade has the strange focus ability that lets him detect enemies through walls and underbrush for a short period, but using it doesn't afford you any interesting iterations on the combat you've been playing through for hours by that point. Wade's ability is primarily deployed for sneaking past enemies during his mission, but it's never clear how or why enemies detect you, leading to a much more irritating stealth section where you just stay as far away from everyone as the linear path will allow. It all amounts to a campaign that has its exciting highlights, but doesn't really achieve the goal of making it feel like you're experiencing different aspects of World War II or taking on the roles of characters with particular skills. The opportunities to use specific abilities are heavily prescribed, and the campaign itself is extremely linear in the usual Call of Duty way, with some moments and elements scripted so specifically that it can make the game feel more like a ride than a war. Competitive multiplayer fares better, although Vanguard's attempts at focusing on character also struggle against the Call of Duty framework on that side of the experience as well. You can choose from a number of different operator characters to play in multiplayer, including characters from the campaign, but the nature of the Call of Duty player versus player experience demands that they all have the same capabilities. So the emphasis placed on the operators, they even all get their own special cutscenes when you choose them, really doesn't amount to much more than opportunities to earn new character skins. The additions to multiplayer, though, are positive ones, even if they're mostly iterative changes to the familiar. Maps are littered with destructible walls, giving you chances to bust out new sightlines or shoot people through flimsy cover. The destruction adds pathways and tactical options, while also increasing the overall chaos as bullets fly from more places. That makes multiplayer matches feel like they change over time, which brings a fun dynamism to battles that requires you to think quickly and adjust your approach. Vanguard also features some new modes and adjustments that enhance the usual multiplayer fare. The competitive menu includes a new option that lets you tune the kind of matches you want to play, leaning into either large team battles on bigger maps or smaller, more intense firefights that get you into the action more quickly. The patrol mode is a highlight, adding mobility to control points that forces you to constantly chase them around the map, which further adds to the dynamic feel of battles and incentivizes out-of-the-box thinking to catch opponents unaware. There's also Champion Hill, which mixes the high-speed, low player count intensity of Modern Warfare's gun game with elements of Warzone. Champion Hill pits teams of either 2 or 3 players against each other in a round-robin competition, where each team has a set number of lives and earns money from kills. That money can then be spent on perks, new weapons and upgrades, and armor to give you an edge. But the speed of battle means that winning a fight usually comes down to smart movement and good team play. It's a fun iteration on Call of Duty ideas that already work, which resulted in a lot of heart-pounding competitive moments in our multiplayer sessions.
You flattened Team Hal! Champion Hill victory is yours!
Along with the heavy emphasis on building fun weapon loadouts with the gunsmith menu, the tweaks here give Vanguard a feeling of heightened customization and fluidity, presenting you with a chance to seek out the kind of Call of Duty experience you like most. Weapon unlocks also transfer between modes, which lessens the grind needed to expand your arsenal. A lot of Vanguard's multiplayer offerings feel like the usual Call of Duty fare, so if you already like what you've been playing in Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War, you'll probably like this too. Though the tweaks aren't necessarily all huge, they're solid adjustments that bring new variety to the series overall. Where Vanguard brings bigger changes is in the perennial Zombies mode, although part of that experience is currently missing. Zombies has been a fascinating addition to the series as a sort of horde mode puzzle box that players have to survive as well as solve, but that mode can be tough to understand with little guidance as you work through it. Black Ops Cold War developer Treyarch returned to work on the mode, and it streamlines zombies in a lot of smart ways. You now load into the mode in a central hub area where you can upgrade your character as you earn points from killing enemies. From the central area, you advance by activating portals that take you to areas with specific objectives, like holding out for a few minutes in a tight room as it fills with zombies, or gathering runes dropped by dead enemies. The objectives are clear and well defined, something that's not always true in zombies. As you complete those objectives, you advance through waves of enemies which become more and more difficult, while also unlocking more parts of the hub area so you can access additional upgrades. Vanguard's take on the mode is friendly to new players interested in checking out one of the weirdest and coolest additions to the franchise. The clarity, deliberate pacing, and obvious goals make it a lot of fun, even if you're not a diehard. The trouble is that, at launch, Zombies lacks that puzzle box feeling that made it so endearing to begin with. The story-centric Easter eggs and secrets that usually define Zombies are being added with Vanguard's first content season, which launches on December 2nd. Until then, however, Zombies feels a bit lacking compared to past games. It can be fun to see how long you can last as the waves get tougher and tougher, but there's nothing in the way of an overarching goal at the moment. That makes Zombies feel more like a passing distraction before you hop back into PvP or wrap up the campaign.
You're safe. Ah, fantastic. Rest now. We live to fight another day.
And that's sort of the overarching issue with Vanguard. things don't feel like they quite synergize. The adjustments to zombies make it more approachable, but the mode is currently missing what makes it worth diving into over and over. The campaign's focus on characters gives the story some impact, but it falls flat in trying to make most of the characters feel special and distinct. Competitive multiplayer brings some adjustments to the overall formula that make the game feel more dynamic, but they're all mostly small steps forward. The thing about Call of Duty games is that with each yearly iteration, you pretty much know what you're getting, and that's largely the case here. It's both a blessing and a curse for Vanguard. Elements of the game feel like really good additions to the franchise, but its ideas also don't always mix well with the framework. That framework is still strong, and the solid gunplay, exciting multiplayer, and inventive moments of the campaign are worth seeking out. But forcing those two parts together exposes some of the seams in Call of Duty Vanguard, weakening both parts of the game rather than pushing either one to the forefront.
All those years teaching me how to shoot. Wasted. Stuck in the med tent.
Постой. Don't be in a rush to fight, доченька. Glory is worth nothing when you're dead.